So as I promised on my last workout video, now we're going to do hip and back mobility. They get worked a lot, and yeah, we're just going to try to open them up, find as much mobility under tension as we can. So I tend to want to start with the hips here. My previous videos probably have a few similar things in them, but we're just going to get into them a little bit deeper for our hips specifically. So I know in a few videos I've used this lunge. I find it a fantastic stretch for the whole body just to start to open up. So we're gripping with the feet, keeping this at about a 90-degree, interlocking the fingers, push them up, take a deep breath, lean back, and then I'm going to lean away from the posted knee. So I'm leaning towards the camera here. And I'm going to open up that side of my body a little bit more, and you should feel your hip flexors and obliques. Open them up. Come back down to center. We're going to bring the hip towards the back of the front knee here. And I'm going to do this facing camera so you can see what I'm going to do with my knee, which will relate to what's happening in my hip. So in this nice lunged position forward, I'm going to grab my foot so it doesn't come off the ground. I'm going to use my elbow to push the knee out nice and far. And I'm trying to get ankle mobility here as well as hip mobility and inside groin, okay? Once I get there, I'm going to take a deep breath, bring my chest up and push my pelvis down a little bit harder here. So I'm creating a bit of space in my front cavity of my body. Still trying to keep the foot on the ground, gripping with the big toe. And then I'm going to do small circles back and let the knee track forward, out to the side, back. Let's do 3 of those. 3. Excellent. Now we're going to come in and we're doing the exact opposite of that. I'm going to push this in, and it's a real kind of weird stretch that you're going to feel here. And I'm still gripping with the foot. Take a deep breath, and I'm just going to try to bring my knee forward just a little bit more. Let it come back. Very good. All right, we're going to hit the hamstrings here because they're so involved with the hips. So I'm leaning back and away from the heel. I'm pulling the toes back. This is probably better from side camera. So from here, I'm pulling my hips back in this direction and pushing my heel down. And then I'm going to grip forward with my toes as much as I can, try to grip that floor. And now I'm going to push my pelvis straight down instead of back. And that should be an inside hamstring and adductors. Pull the toes back again. And now pull your hips away, back here, and down. Excellent. Switch sides. Nice even square hips. Grip with the front foot. Interlock the fingers up above. Get tall. Lean back. And then away from the posted knee. Obliques and hip flexors. Push the pelvis forward just a little bit. Flex the glutes. Back to center. I'm up on the back toe as well. They're not pointed. It does change things a bit. And now we're going to push that knee forward. And now I'm going to brace myself, and once again, just from a different angle here, I'm going to push down on my foot and open that knee to the side as much as I can, keeping my hips square to the front. So a bit of side ankle mobility and a lot of the inside of the hip and the inside groin. Use your elbow as much as you want. 3 little circles. 3, 2, 1. Bring it back forward, and now we're going to do the exact opposite. Still gripping with the foot. I'm going to push the knee in, keeping the hips square. So my hips don't move. My hips stay square. I'm just pushing the knee in. So it's a very interesting feeling stretch. It's kind of in the back of the hip a little bit. And now push the pelvis forward and bring the chest up. Release that, and then come back into the hamstring stretch, pulling the toes back, pulling the hips behind you, pushing the heel down into the ground, pulling the toes back harder. So I'm really forcing these toes back. You can grip it with your hand and pull it back as well if you want. And then again, my mobility is bad here, but we're going to reach forward as much as we can. That's about the limits of my mobility, and then we're going to push the hips straight down, which should be the insertions of the hamstrings right behind the glutes and the inside thigh. Or inside hamstring rather, sorry. And pull the toes back one more time. Pull the hips back behind you and push them down. And relax out of that. Okay. Next, I'm going to try to get myself in this square position like so. And I'm going to bring my chest straight over my knee. So for this particular one, I want the foot back. I don't have it out like I did in the last video. I want it straight back this time. And I'm trying to get into more of the back of the glute here as I come straight down. Okay? So come straight down here. And then I'm literally going to let my hips sway off to the side till I'm on them. And I'm going to straighten through this arm and bring my leg out to the side and push straight up. And I'm pushing my rib cage up, trying to open my obliques right by my hips. Take a deep breath, pull it up, and then relax it down. And we're going to switch over to the other side, same thing. So I'm going to bring that knee straight up to the front, and I'm going to lean straight down over top of it. A nice flat back. One more deep breath here. Really focus on using as much deep breathing as you can. Okay, and then we're going to let our hips just come off to the side. This leg straight out from my hip. Straightening this arm, taking a deep breath. Pulling all that weight away from the hip, trying to stretch it out here a bit. Again. Relax out of that. Into a nice butterfly here. Elbows push the knees down. I'm going to take a deep breath, getting tall, bringing my belly button forward so my back is not curved at all. Okay, again, we're trying to make as much distance with a flat back. Think about pulling the belly button forward, not the chest. Push the knees down with your elbows. One more deep breath here. Relax up to the top. The next one's going to get our shoulders and our back. So we're going to come from a 90-90 here. And I'm going to reach under my body with my knuckles. My hands open nice and wide, and I'm pushing into the ground. And I'm going to put the side of my shoulder on the ground. So that's opening up my hips through my lower back, into my lat, and into my right shoulder here. I'm going to take a deep breath and try to open my back and twist away from it. And now I'm going to take my hand here and bring my thumb rotating from the shoulder straight down to the ground, push down, take another deep breath. Pull away from that hand, open up the back and the shoulder. Lastly, I'm going to grab my lat here and I'm going to roll the other way. So I'm rolling onto the elbow, letting my scapula open up as much as I can, letting my right shoulder blade open up as much as I can. Take another deep breath and push your chest down towards the ground. Switch sides. Same thing. I'm going to reach under me, knuckles. Shoulder comes down right below me. And I'm going to take a deep breath and pull away from my hand. Twisting through the lower back all the way through the lat and the shoulder. And I'm going to rotate the thumbs so my palm is on the ground. Take another deep breath. Pull away from it again. And now the hand reaches up to the lat, and I'm going to drive down into the elbow a little bit to open up that shoulder blade as much as I can. 2 more deep breaths here. One more. Come out of that. From here, I'm just going to bring the pelvis forward as hard as I can and arc my back. And then come into an arch, letting the shoulder blades come back and down as well. 3 times. Up. Inhale. Exhale. Watch the shoulders at the end. They pop all the way down. Squeeze the lats. Again. One more time. Bring the body down to the ground flat. Legs are about 30 degrees apart. Toes are pointed. My hands are under my chest more than anything. Take a deep breath. Arc up. And just let the shoulders come forward so we're rotating very gently, very thoughtfully, slowly. No abrasive movements here. feeling out the entire range of the back. Take another deep breath at center. A little bit more twists. This should be obliques as well. A little bit hip flexors. Keep the pelvis on the ground, the chest nice and high. Back to center. Slowly come down here. Okay. We're going to grab our forefoot with one hand and pull up into the air to just stretch out the hip flexors and the quad. Keep the chest up off the ground. Down here you're not going to feel it the same way as if you keep your chest up a little bit. One more pull back, deep breath. Relax. Open up the hand. Switch to the other foot. Take a deep breath. Again. Relax. Okay, we're going to get back into the hips here. And you can do this if you have like a pillow or something, but you don't have a mat, that's fine. I don't typically use any padding. I'm just not used to it. I grew up doing martial arts, and we did everything on kind of hard surfaces, so my joints are kind of used to it, I think. So what I'm trying to do here is my hips are actually off the ground, and I'm pushing into the knee. And I'm just rotating the actual femur in the hip joint here. Left and in. All the way out, all the way in. If you don't have the strength to hold yourself up, if you're just in this position, you're still going to feel a nice amount of range of motion. Okay? Just like so. If you can push up, and I'm driving my hips into the ground, you're going to get a different kind of range of motion. Okay, we're just going to go back and forth about 5 times each side. That side can rest. Pull the toe back. Let it come in as much as you can. So go slow. Find your whole range of motion here. Really try to establish a larger range of motion that is comfortable. We're going slow, pushing the hips into the ground, pulling the toe back. 2 more times each side. Really find your range. 1 more. You should feel this in your lower back as well. And pull it in. Okay, so that's to warm up to one of the creepiest, horrific feeling stretches that we're going to do. And this is great for your hip mobility. If you do have hip bursitis or anything, a pre-existing condition, then I would avoid this one. If your hips are healthy, then this will keep them healthy. But it's a terrible feeling stretch. It doesn't even really feel like a stretch. It just feels creepy and awful. But it's great for your hips if they don't have pre-existing conditions. The keys to this are making 90-degree angles. So my toes are pulled back. They're not loose. My toes are pulled back, and my knees are directly at these 90 degrees from my hip to my knee to my heel. Okay? Some people call this the goalie stretch. And we're going to get as wide as we can here. We're going to grip with our hands, and I'm going to take a deep breath and pull my chest up to the ceiling with that breath. And you should feel this in the lower back and the hips. Push the pelvis down a little bit. Try to get your knees apart a little bit more. Take another deep breath. And again, we're straight out from the hips here. Okay? And now we're just going to come down to our elbows so we're flat. Everything's flat. And from here, I'm trying to sit between my heels as if I was doing a wide squat, I would say. So we're going to try to sit between, and this is where it just feels awful. It's a terrible feeling stretch. Embrace that. Get into it. And we're going to hold this sitting between the heels for a little while, keeping the stomach engaged. The back is nice and flat. And now I'm going to roll forward until my pelvis can come down to the ground. So just as far as you can forward. For me, I have good hip mobility still, so I can get my pelvis all the way down to the ground. If you can, once you get down to the ground, from this position, you're going to arc up just a little bit, just to feel the lower back engage. Come back down. Now sit between your heels again. You should get a little bit more distance. Your hips should be starting to open up a little bit more. 2 deep breaths here. With the deep breaths, I really want you to take your time and fill up with as much oxygen as you can. While we're opening all these blood lines and all our muscle fibers, it's good to get oxygen in there. And we're going to roll forward 1 more time. Oh, as far forward as you can. Doesn't feel good, I know. Work through it. If you have the mobility, we're going to do a slight arch here. Very slight. We're going for like 50% effort. Back down. And just up to a neutral position, still on the elbow, so our back is still flat. Now we're going to engage the same muscles as we did for that previous one. Now I'm trying to bring my heel up as high as I can and bring it back down. We're going to go one side at a time first. 5, 4, pull the toes back, 3, and we're really rotating the femur and the hip here. 2, one more, 1, other side, same thing. 5, pull the toes back, 4, ooh, this side does not feel good. 3, again, stretching and mobility are probably neglected as much as anything. 2, 1, take a deep breath here. I know you want to come out of it, not quite yet. Now we're going to do 5 with both feet. Take a deep breath, try to widen our knees a little bit more. 5, woo! 4, nice and controlled, slow, don't use momentum. 3, pull the toes back. 2, hold this one, up, 5, hold. 4, higher. 3, pull the toes back harder. 2, 1, relax very slowly. Ooh, bring the knees together. And if you have a chair or a bench, grab it. And if you have a broom, it's great. If you don't have a broom, I'll show you how to do it without one, but most people have brooms, so I'll show you how to do it with the broom first. So this is going to open up our internal obliques, our serratus, and our lat, our shoulder, and our back. Fantastic stretch. I can't remember who I stole this from, but I didn't make this up. I stole it from somebody. So we're going to grab this shoulder width apart, about maybe a little bit more narrow, and my elbows are going to go right on the edge of the chair or the bench or whatever you got. Even, you can do this at a counter, at your kitchen counter if you wanted. Maybe a smaller broom though, so you don't knock things off. Let the hips come back. Keep this grip and push your chest through your shoulders. Come back up to the top. You're going to bring your hands in so they're almost touching now, but the elbows stay wide. And if you don't have a broom, you're just going to push your hands together like this. Don't interlock them, because as soon as you go from here to here, your shoulders are in a different position. So we're pushing them together here. We're not interlocking them. We're pushing them here. If you have the broom, grab it. Take a deep breath. Pull the hips away from your shoulders. Push the chest between the shoulders again. And now we're going to take our fists and bring them to the back of our neck. And now we should feel our triceps, serratus, and internal obliques. External obliques, rather. Take a deep breath. And try to push your chest down a little bit more. Open it up, open it up. Try to widen your rib cage now. Push down a little bit further. And now pull the knuckles right back up. And we're going to come down to the neck 3 times. 3, pull it up. 2, 1, hold. Take another deep breath. Get more mobility in those shoulders and the back. Arch the back a bit if you need to. Take a deep breath. And back up to the top. Put the broom away. And now we're just going to push our hands onto the bench or the chair. And again, I'm keeping my shoulders as open as possible here. And from a long distance, I'm opening up my upper back, my shoulders, and my chest, pushing my chest down. Deep breath. Open the ribs, open the intercostals of the ribs, push the chest forward a little bit more. And relax up to the top. We're now going to get into the upper shoulder and the lat. And it's probably best facing camera, I would think. It's a bit complicated with the hands, but it's a great one. So I'm going to grab my left shoulder with my right hand, and my left hand is going to come over the right elbow and grab the shoulder, which is already difficult for most people. Okay? Take a deep breath here and get tall. And imagine you have a bar right here that you're pulling yourself over. So I'm not collapsing from my lower back. I'm pretending I have a stick or a bar here that I'm trying to pull my chest over top of. Okay, so take a deep breath. And now pull the shoulder and look towards your left knee, and pull the shoulder towards the left knee. You should feel your lat really open up here. Take another deep breath, get taller. Pull it over to that knee. Open up the lat more. And relax. Switch sides. Deep breath. Over the bar. Down towards the right knee this time. Look in the same direction. Another deep breath. Really open that lat. Widen the back of your rib cage again. Get tall. Relax that. Crawl yourself forward. Let the lower back get a bit of a stretch. Take 2 deep breaths coming up the back and relax the head on exhale. Again. Slowly roll up to the top. We're going to end this with a pancake, if it's possible for you, and side reaches. So again, not everybody's going to be able to do this, but those of you that can join me, please do. If you can't get that mobility, we can just be stretching out the hips and the hamstrings here, okay? And if you want to try to reach across your body like so to open up the lats a little bit, that's fine. So I'm reaching to the opposite side of my foot and opening up my lats as much as my hamstrings, everything leaning down into it. That's if you don't have the mobility and flexibility to get into this position. Knees are flat, toes are pulled back, pushing out through the heels, and we're going to reach right over our body and try to open up our obliques in the lat rib cage as much as we can. Take a few deep breaths trying to expand this. One more. Up to the top. Give yourself a little twist to the right, a little twist to the left. Reach over the body. Deep breath through here. Open the intercostals, open up the obliques. 3 more breaths. Two more. One more. And relax up to the top. Now, for those of you that are advanced, we're going to work on our splits a little bit today, which I haven't worked on since the beginning of this crisis, or whatever you want to label it as. So I'm probably not as flexible as I should be. And I realized that today when I was upstairs in my bed. Actually, I was feeling my hips and they don't feel as supple as they once did. So for those advanced people, join me. For those of you that have not achieved this level of flexibility yet, have a great day and enjoy it. Drink lots of water after stretching. It really does flush things out a lot more. You're releasing a lot of toxins and lactic acids as we open everything up if you're doing these stretches well. But for the rest of you, we're going to go into our side splits and our Russian splits. Okay, so we're going to start at the top here, starting with the toes back, supporting myself with a good amount of weight here. So just find the flexibility range you have and start to open up. Now, the most common errors I see here are people letting their hips this way to get closer to the ground, but really you're just opening your hips. So I'm trying to keep my hips as square as possible. I feel this coming up through the hip flexors and in the hamstrings down here. Pull the toe back and try to bring your shoulders so they're right over top of your hips. And we're just going to hold this for a while, a nice 30 seconds. While we're doing these 30 seconds, we're going to be taking deep breaths, driving the heel down, trying to have enough strength to hold yourself here. If you don't, you can brace yourself. We're going to do 5 more of these breaths. Grow the spine upwards with the breath. Two more. A little bit more distance if you can, and one more. Very good. Slowly relax out of it. And we'll find the other side and get into the same thing. I do point my back toe for this, because I know on the lunges I like my toe up, like so. For these, you can point your toe, that's fine. Be much more comfortable. We'll see which side is more flexible here. Oh, get down into it, shoulders right over the hips. Start with the deep breathing. Pull the toe back, push through the heel. Try to have enough strength to hold yourself here. Okay, flexibility under tension is important. It's not just loose joints. Deep breathing. We'll go for 5 more of those. Get taller. Expand the back. 2 more. Deep breath this time. And slowly come out of it again. Okay, cross your legs. Give yourself a little twist. Twist the other side. Feel the lower back, even it out, get in touch with it. We're going to go into the, I think these are called Russian splits. Maybe, I don't know, my nomenclature is not good for these. Again, my heels are engaged, my toes are pulled back, and my pelvis is front. Okay, it doesn't matter how much mobility you can get if your legs are out to the front. Okay, so pull them back, my glutes are flexed, everything's strong, you should be able to hold your weight on your legs. Okay, so we're using tension as well, flexibility with tension. Pull the toes back, take a deep breath here. And if you can get down to the ground, we're going to interlock our fingers, push them up. Again. If you need to brace yourself, then just stay there, pull the toes back, drive the heels into the ground, and we're going to hold this for about another 15 seconds. 4 deep breaths. 2 more. Last one, deeper breath. Oh, haven't done that for a while. Okay, so if you're not that advanced for those, don't give up. Meaning, if this is as far as you can go, but you can go there, then start getting into that. Because honestly, if you practice this regularly, you'll be able to make your distance. You'll make a lot of progress. Especially if you take the next however long we got, months, or hopefully not years, months though, to really focus on this. Flexibility is longevity. It's really important. It saves you if you slip on the ice. I live in Canada where it's icy a lot, and I gotta say flexibility saved me from so much injury when I've slipped or fallen on the ice or whatever I've done. Outside of the one injury, it's always saved me. So the rest of you, I hope you enjoyed that mobility. You can always end this with some more deep breathing. You can't use breathing enough. We're shallow breathers these days. Open those ribs up as much as you can, and have a great night, everybody. Take care.